YouTube,
Okay.
Periscope, and Twitch. Everybody streaming on YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch right now, you guys. Hopefully, we're going to be streaming on Facebook.
Hey, what's up,
here
guys?
in a moment.
I should be doing like a Fortnite channel on Twitch or something.
You absolutely should be.
Yeah, it's the beginning of season 6. They just kicked it off today. They had
awesome, man.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a big one, like it was at the beginning of season 5, where it showed like this vandal. He's got like a hamburger out in like the Palmdale Desert area or something, and then they get sucked into the game itself, and then they incorporated that into it. They call it Der Burger.
Burger.
So this one, what happened was that towards the end of the season, they had this little purple cube that went around, well, a bigger one. But what happened was that when people got too close to it, they died or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So I never got close to it, but it moved around. Yeah. And then as it moved around, it would leave like this purple dome that you can kind of jump and stuff, which, this is where it becomes a kid's game. Because one time I was in that jumping area, I was down to like the final 10, and a guy nailed me from like 200 meters out in one shot. Yeah. I swear they must give a handicap to like 7-year-olds or something like that, because I could have never made a shot like that ever. I mean, the last 2 eliminations that I had on the game, I eliminated the 3rd place guy with a 100-meter shot. Yeah. And then the last one that I did, I didn't even get credit for. What it was that I had remote explosives. The guy was coming after me. I blew myself up with them. So it said I went out with a bang, and then I eliminated them, and they gave me credit for the elimination, but not for the kill. So I was whatever.
Well, by the way, everybody, we're talking about...
Hey, what's up? Yeah, we're talking about Fortnite again. So.
Yeah, of course. I'm here always on Thursday nights with the fantastic Chris Fumagalli, everybody.
Thank you.
Fumagalli.
Thank you very much.
Super stoked about the fact that the new Fortnite edition has come out, right?
Yeah,
Fortnite
season 6. Yeah, I played only like two times. I got like 14th, and I think I got like 6th. And what happened was that I play retarded, folks. I actually don't use a mouse. I don't have a gamepad. I know. Yeah, there's some issues.
Or you just
I guess
use the keyboard.
I basically, like that laptop that you got there. That's how I play. I play with a touchpad in terms of getting myself around. So I really suck at making forts, but I'm really good at hiding and kind of blending into the environment and stuff. If I get like a tool like a bush, I'll take that immediately.
What's a bush?
Well, what it is that you disguise yourself as a bush. So while you're out in the forest landscape, you can pretty much blend in.
I am a bush.
And then, like, as people pass you by, you can actually shoot them from behind and nail them and stuff.
Oh, nice. A lot of behind nailing. That's what I like.
Yeah, and you know what? I had the bush when I got 6th place, man. And this guy went up behind me, and I was trying to line myself up, but I couldn't get myself lined up enough. And then he was off and running. You really only have, like, seconds, even half seconds, basically, to set yourself up and then they eliminate the person, because once you start shooting, then it's on. Then they start building the forts, and then they go after you. So you really got to be really extremely quick about it, or at least me, especially on the touchpad.
Oh yeah, right. Would you think you're at a detriment because you're not using better gamer gear and stuff?
Yeah,
like
that? I think that's a lot.
Maybe that's how a lot of these people are a little quicker and stuff like that.
Well, what I do is I kind of take my time. I work myself on the outside, and then I go in. So as I'm building up the types of weapons that I want and the certain things, like the other stupid mistake that I made when I was 6th place was that I had enough health stuff to keep me up to like 2nd or 3rd. If I would have just stayed in the same place that I was and let the storm started kind of going, and I would have started losing health, I had like 2 or 3 items that would have put me pretty much back to 100 health. And I didn't. And what I did instead was that your instinct is that you want to run towards the storm first. That way you can save them. But my problem was that as soon as I started leaving, I started getting attacked. And then when I was trying to get myself set up, by that point, it was too late. You'd already nailed it.
That's a motherfucker, man. Well, as much as I love our Fortnite conversations that we have on here, my friend, I want to talk to you about the fact that you used to live in El Paso, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier today, about how I grew up there, and I had a main focus talking about the...
So what year, how old were you when you lived in El Paso? Like, were you born there?
No, I was not born there, man. What happened was that my mom and dad were going through divorce, and my step-grandfather basically retired at Fort Bliss. So when my mom... Gotcha. And which is pretty much like the biggest army base now. They doubled in size like 10, 12 years ago and stuff. So
it's huge.
Yeah, I think in terms of like, it's the southernmost point, for the Army that has like the most people there and stuff. McGregor Range, which is where the tanks. Yeah, that area there is, they say, with Fort Bliss and McGregor Range combined, it's like the size of New Jersey. That's how big it is.
God damn.
Yeah, it's that much. Yeah,
it
takes up that much area, man. It's because from El Paso to Alamogordo is like 110 miles, something like that, and most of that is McGregor Range as you're going up.
Okay.
So you have the area over by the airport where the Fort Bliss is kind of wrapped around it. It was Biggs Army Airfield there, but then that incorporated into the Fort Bliss, so they call it Biggs Field and stuff. So,
okay, I gotcha.
And then pretty much.
So you're in.
Yeah, so I was there.
So when did you? Where were you born, by the way? Just for the record.
I was born in Virginia.
No shit. What part of Virginia?
Roanoke.
Oh, Roanoke. I love little Roanoke, Virginia. That's some real true blue fucking Virginia, right?
Yeah,
there.
I actually. Yeah, my dad and mom had a house out there in the hills, man. Nice. And
the Hollers?
Yeah, it was probably like maybe 10, 15 miles outside of Roanoke and stuff. The Blue Mountains, I think they call it. Yeah. Yeah, one of the strangest stories, and I was a baby, I couldn't remember, but my uncle was there with my grandparents visiting one time. And my dad at the time, mom and dad had a German Shepherd, and they had like a cat or something. Yeah. Well, the dog messed around with the cat and broke the cat's tail. So the cat's all, like that. Yeah, right. And my dad and my uncle, he was like, oh, man, this cat's in pain. We've got to chop the tail off. And my uncle had to hold down the cat while my dad got a hatchet and
Jesus Christ!
Actually, he bobtailed it right there, so the cat like that, but
with a hatchet. That's crazy.
It is like a medicine.
That's some Roanoke shit right there.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman kind of stuff. It's like just.
So do you cauterize it after you cut the tail off?
Obviously the cat lived and stuff. You just
but
it's unfortunate that happened. But I remember my uncle telling me about that story. That's about probably the only significant story that happened when I was living there, but I was like a baby.
Damn. Okay. So when did you move from? Did you move from Roanoke to El Paso?
Yeah, like early 70s.
Early 70s. How old are you?
I was, I think, probably 2.
Okay, so you barely remember Roanoke.
Yeah,
you grew up in El Paso.
Yeah. I mean, I remember maybe straddling around the farm there, maybe a little bit, but then we went to El Paso and then pretty much kicked it there, and then my mom started her career as a librarian there. And
a librarian, nice. Okay.
Yeah, she was over at Socorro and stuff. It was pretty nice. She liked to play softball, man. That was one of the things that she did. Yeah, she did horses. And she played softball, and she had a torn ACL.
Oh, damn.
She was playing softball, slid into a base, and then screwed up her knee. Yeah, so she had a scar of her knee right there.
Damn, okay. All right, so how long did you live in El Paso? From 2 years old to what?
Well, pretty much off and on, man. I'd say that I probably started really leaving there like maybe 89, 90. I started going to different places. Florida was the main one.
So nearly like 20 years, essentially, right? Okay. All right, so and I wanted to talk to you more about the cartel shit that you were pretty familiar with.
Yeah, well, obviously living right next to Juarez, Mexico. I mean, it was the murder capital of the world for like 2 years, man.
Oh yeah. What years were those? Do you remember?
09 and 10.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, but one of the things that I was trying to refresh my memory on was what led up to that.
Right.
Because at one time, the Juarez cartel, as I was mentioning earlier. Yeah. When I was performing here at Fourth Wall, was that the cartels, I guess, kind of started with what is his name? Arellano from the Guadalajara cartel. And then what happened was that one of the family members killed a DEA agent, and then that was kind of like the beginning of the end of that cartel.
Started what, the war, essentially,
Well, essentially what that did was that I was saying on stage, it was like he was like the Ma Bell of the cartels, that he was just Chevron. So as soon as it started kind of going down, that's when it's kind of splintered off, and then that's where the Juarez cartel kind of came up with the Fuentes Carrillo family.
Okay.
And Amado Carrillo Fuentes, or Fuentes Carrillo, he was called the El Rey de los Cielos, which is the Lord of the Skies, because he had a fleet of planes, and that's how they they would truck it in, or they would fly it in and stuff. And
so this particular cartel guy owned all the planes, or had just a fleet.
Because the big thing with what is it, Arellano, was that he was friends with Pablo Escobar, or they formed a partnership, because prior to Pablo Escobar kind of coming into the picture, they were just kind of more into like either a little bit of heroin and mostly pot and stuff. But once Pablo Escobar came in, they really kind of capitalized on it.
Went full cocaine and stuff.
So yeah, obviously cocaine makes you go crazy, and that's what family members were doing. They were killing people that they shouldn't have.
Damn. So were all these cartel dudes just fucking blowing out, like just doing a whole bunch of blow and kind of making them go nuts?
You know, I meant they really didn't. I didn't look into the aspect of the leaders themselves and what their habits were, but I mean, obviously they were, they probably were more like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, where they kind of ran it.
Especially, like I know Escobar never did any, really didn't do much.
They talked about how like he spent $1 million on rubber bands from rubber, basically.
That's so much
bundling
all
his money and stuff.
Madness.
Yeah, and see, in El Paso, we had stash houses and stuff like that. But
damn, so they're places where the cartel would come from Juarez, and they'd keep a bunch of cash.
Well, yeah, and there was so the Juarez cartel was the Carrillo Fuentes family, and then because he was being hunted down, and he was very high profile because of all the planes and stuff, and his day was coming. And what happened was that he had plastic surgery. And the procedure went wrong.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, he was changing the way that he was looking, and it went wrong. The surgeons that did it messed up, and he wound up dying, and the bodyguards were there, and then they wound up finding the doctors a couple of days later in like barrels all, abused and killed and stuff. So, I mean, it was the margin of error was zero.
Okay, you were talking about on stage, because you said putting guys in barrels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever see any?
No, I never saw that. I meant when I would go over to Juarez, when I went over there, it was probably like maybe a period of maybe 94 to like 07.
Was it less fucked up? I mean, was it less?
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things was that I never. The big thing that happened over in Juarez prior to the cartel killings was the Maquiladora killings.
What's that?
There was a series of different people that were responsible for kidnapping women and
oh no shit,
assaulting them and then ultimately dumping their body somewhere. And
damn.
Yeah, and it covered the spectrum. I mean, a lot of women were working at Maquiladoras, which was.
Was this like a serial killer thing, or was this like a fucking human trafficking thing?
Well, and that was one of the things that some of the cartels were involved with, primarily the Zetas. But
human trafficking, right?
Yeah, human trafficking they were involved with. But in Juarez, it was kind of like a culmination of different people that did that type of, almost like a copycat killing kind of stuff.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So that was really kind of the big thing during the 90s. Was that there was like 250 women that were wound up missing, and then towards the end of 90s, they had FBI go out to like this shooting range that was out there in Juarez. They did find some bodies, but they didn't find the massive graves that they were expecting to find and stuff.
So they thought they'd find just holes filled with
yeah, I mean, just the sad thing with Mexico, or at least my opinion of it, is that there's not really an infrastructure there. Everything is kind of corrupt. So what happens is that it's a country always in turmoil and stuff. So I mean, they have a lot of great natural resources and stuff, but the only thing that really works is working for the cartel.
Right.
And then the cartels would, basically pay off the politicians, and they look the other way.
And then it becomes like more the government is the cartel at that point.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, when they were kind of talking about the cartel killings were the result of like when Vicente Fox, who was the leader of the Panistas, kind of consider Barack Obama kind of like the Vicente Fox is like the Barack Obama of Mexico, in the sense that the pre-party basically took control of Mexico for the longest time, ever since it was a country in like 1916. So Panista comes along, and now it's like a combo breaker. Yeah. And then one of the things that started happening was that he was starting to crack down on the drug cartels.
Oh, okay.
And then by the time that what's his name? The next president that came in after Fox in 06, he was stepping it up, and then that's how come it really escalated at that point.
Oh, right. So what's stepping up, like them cracking down on the cartel and stuff like that?
Yeah, because when Arellano broke things up, there was La Familia, there was Sinaloa, there was the Gulf Cartel, there was the Juarez Cartel.
Right.
There was also Beitan Leva, and then
Leva.
yeah, exactly. So there was like 7 or 8 different cartels that were
Smaller
formed.
cartels.
Yeah, certain areas of Mexico were basically in control by certain groups, and then the Zetas were split off of the Gulf Cartel.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then Barrio Azteca worked with La Línea, and the line. So they were the people, the arm of the Juarez cartel, and then at Barrio Azteca, which was formed out of El Paso, because they had American citizens as well as Mexican nationals.
Gotcha.
So they would do all types of stuff. I mean, they would kidnap people and bring them over to the wars, and then pretty much nail them.
Damn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of sad things that happened, especially starting in 08. I mean, the body count really started kind of adding up at that point.
I don't know why I always thought that maybe it was like later. Like I always thought that I didn't realize it was as early as like 08, 09, 2010.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always thought that like a lot of this stuff was ancient history, but a lot of this stuff is like pretty recent fucking history. Like a lot of this cartel stuff's still going on now, obviously. Do you know much about what's going on in Juarez, Mexico now? Have they really cracked down fully, or?
The current state of what they're at now, I mean, it almost seems like it's just smoldering ashes. They're just kind of picking up the pieces. Right. I mean, it's kind of like everybody kind of destroyed each other. But they...
I mean, like, are there really any major cartel families left that alive? I mean... Well,
and that was one thing that I was thinking about. I didn't really get into the whole El Chapo Guzman part of it, because... One of the things that I was focusing on was that Sinaloa cartel and Juarez cartel at one time really kind of had a partnership going. Sinaloa would have the cane, and Juarez had the plains, and so everybody kind of won and stuff.
Damn.
Because of the cartel starting there, and then Sinaloa kind of capitalizing on that, they'd get it for a lower price, and then they'd be able to ship it more and then make a lot more money.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just talking out my ass, everyone. So.
No, it's great. I mean, I like that you were at least, not necessarily first-hand experience, but that's Travis Clyburn, the Travis Clyburn. Thank you, Fred Murphy. I appreciate you. Good to see you. I hope you come. I know your daughter's in school and stuff, but I hope you can come back to Fourth Wall more often, my fuzzy friend.
It was a fun night tonight, man.
It was good. We did Chris did the 10 o'clock show. I was here. I hosted the 8, 9, 10 because our normal Thursday night host, the lovely Sasha Boggs, is out of town doing comedy things and stuff.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah. Where'd she go?
I have no fucking idea.
Okay, well, maybe she'll be on the live cast and tell us
where
she went.
There's no way Sasha Boggs is going to watch this. There's no fucking way.
What I really enjoyed was the podcast you did the other day with Beitner or Beitler?
Oh, Beitler, yeah. Betsy Beitler.
Betsy, that was her name, man.
Joe and Betsy. Yeah, that's Joe Manette's friend, really accomplished actress. She undersells the shit out of herself. But she plays Will Sasso's wife right now. You know what I mean? That's
I heard about that, man. Yeah. I was like, you know what? This is I'm glad that Joe knows her, and I'm glad that she came down here and you guys got to
It was very nice for her, because her and Joe have been friends for a really long time. Joe knows a lot of fucking people.
He does, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that every time we do like a living room show and stuff, we'll have about like 15, 20 people over there. Yeah. And then obviously here, there was like, I guess, not too long ago. In fact, the reason why we didn't do the podcast last week was because of the movie thing that you guys were kind of talking about and stuff. I really hope that everybody that comes through here at the Fourth Wall, I really wish them success.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not jealous of anybody's success. Yeah, because I mean, this is a place to kind of get better, and it's a really nice workout room. Yeah, I think that you work things out, you kind of flesh out new material and stuff. You were talking about, talk about wars and stuff. So that was one of the focuses that I was looking at
for
before.
Your 5 minute set.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about like my experience there. It was there's a lot of lithium in the water in El Paso, so it's very
really.
Yeah, so everybody was like really mellow and stuff.
Lithium. Yeah, I know lithium. Not only a battery, but also but also a bipolar and mood stabilizing medication.
Yeah, I meant to, and believe it or not, Juarez actually had better water than El Paso. It wasn't as hard because over on the El Paso side, it was a little bit more calcite and stuff. But
oh shit.
Yeah, so obviously I had pretty good teeth for a while.
fluoride and lithium.
Yeah, I was trying to think of famous people that were from El Paso. Gene Roddenberry was born in El Paso.
Gene Roddenberry, I don't know who that is.
Founder of Star Trek. He created Star Trek.
Okay.
Yeah,
you looked at me like I had just slapped your mother.
Yeah. Well,
I'm really shitty with names.
He was born there, and then he left, and then obviously he grew up pretty much here in Los Angeles, and then you know he did Stories of the Highway Patrol. You know, when I saw that in the 90s, I thought, oh, okay, this is a new story, but it was based on, the show that they did back in the 50s. He was one of the writers for that. Yeah, one of the things was that it was owned by Desilu, and at one point they were going to cancel it, but Desilu decided to keep him on, and the reason why was because Lucille Ball told him, hey, you know what, when I started out in show business, I lost my job. I know how that feels. So, I want to make sure that you guys get your chance and stuff. And looks actually what happened with Star Trek. I mean, I'm happy for that success.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, Star Trek has become a phenomenon, obviously. Are you more of a Star Wars or Star Trek man?
You know, I like both of them.
You towing the line. Which one do you like more, though?
I say that in terms of equipment that I bought a lot more Star Wars. I mean, when I was a kid, I had pretty much all the Star Wars characters. I had Darth Vader. Nice. I had
storyline. Well, I mean, then again, it's not necessarily fair because Star Trek has a million storylines and a million different reboots and a million different variations. So really, and Star Wars just now is creating more content and stuff like that.
Right.
So there's a lot more to draw from because I mean, I do toe the line. I think I'm more of a Star Wars fan just because I grew up with it so heavily. My dad wasn't much of a Trekkie or anything like that. Right. We did watch a lot of the Star Trek movies and stuff, like everything with Jean-Luc Picard and whatnot. Like I love that interpretation of Star Trek. I do not care for the William Shatner Star Trek with Spock and stuff like that. It's so, maybe just because I wasn't alive then to watch it and stuff, but it doesn't hold up for shit. Like, it's real cheesy.
What really was interesting about William Shatner was that I guess a couple of years after he left Star Trek, he was actually homeless at one point, man. He was like sleeping out of his truck, yeah. No, I mean, one of the movies that I saw as a kid was called Kingdom of the Spiders. He did that movie, and then he did like guest spots on like Barnaby Jones and stuff like that. So he was kind of having a hard time kind of getting his rhythm.
Friend Murphy says, what I don't like about Star Wars is there's no clear leader. I need a Kirk. And he says, F you, Clyburn, Kirk is God. I disagree, Fred Murphy. I think I like the fact that Star Wars is about rebelling, literally about throwing away these fucking tyrannical leaders like your fucking Kirk, all right? His saying, what he says goes. He's first officer. Fuck you, okay? I want freedom. I want the people, Fred Murphy. God damn. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah. See, and that was, it was kind of nice that when Star Trek the movie kind of came out, I'm looking for V'ger and all that. It was a little bit trippy. But the second movie, I actually will enjoy watching the second film more than the first. And the reason why is because of Khan. Khan! I mean,
the Benedict Cumberbatch playing Khan, I love the Star Trek reboots. I like all of them. Even people talk shit about the most recent one, but I think it's fucking incredible.
The original one I remember, and one of the things that they did was that they had this worm, like a tequila worm, that they would put in the ear, and it would make them, they had to do certain things, so he would... Khan would basically order this guy to kill someone else. Kirstie Alley was in the film too, and then at the end, obviously Spock is like saving the ship, but he dies in the process and all that. So there was a lot of great things that came from that. So that I enjoyed that one a lot. I'll watch that movie more than the original one that came out.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, Star Trek 3 I didn't quite get into.
That's Simon Pegg has a great point. He says all odd-numbered Star Trek movies are bad.
First and the third one, because the third one they're trying to build it up as the Spock being reborn and all that, and they had the whole Genesis
the second
thing.
one, I can't remember what the fourth one was, but apparently he claims that's really great. Okay, Mike Brennan asked me...
the Voyage Home, where they go back in time to San Francisco to like 1985, and they're on the bus, and there's a punk rocker, and
which one was that? Was it the fourth?
Yeah, that was the fourth one, The Voyage Home, I think.
Apparently he thinks that was sorry. Mike Brennan asked me, any thoughts on Han Solo movie? Mike Brennan, you're going to be disappointed with me. I've not seen the Han
Yeah,
Solo
I haven't
movie.
seen the Solo movie. No, I'm sorry, man.
I've been pretty motherfucking broke, so like I didn't, and I just haven't really had time. I've been working my fucking ass off for so long. I'm making a point though. I believe on Tuesday to sit down and watch not only that but Infinity War on DVD. I'm gonna go fucking Redbox it up.
Yeah, see,
and,
I haven't
actually
seen
sit
any
down
of that,
and
man.
watch. Dude, it's hard. It's interesting because we live in a place where it's like movie culture is such a big deal, but it's also
Yeah, I
very
can watch
expensive.
anything that I want at any time, but instead I play Fortnite. That's I'm playing
Fortnite. Yeah,
I'm playing like a 12-year-old game, man.
I work like 12 hours a day, pretty much every day. So it sucks.
Yeah. Next question.
Start a GoFundMe. I got you, brother.
Yeah.
Okay,
I need a
Fred Murphy
GoFundMe.
says, don't bother. You may as well skip the newest McDonald's burger. For the Solo movie? I'm guessing that's what you're referencing.
They just talked about Solo finishing up their releases in the theater. I think when it was all said and done, they were like 386 million or something like that.
Goddamn.
Yeah, they just closed it in movie theaters. They're not showing it in movie theaters anymore.
Well, a lot of people didn't like Force Awakens, and that bothers me because I love Force Awakens. I didn't care as much. I want to love The Last Jedi, but I only like 64% of that movie. I know that's an odd amount, but 64% of that movie I loved, and then the rest I think I could have done without. Actually, honestly, God, I want to take that movie and I want to edit a better cut of it for myself. It might even be long enough to be a feature after I'm done with it. But I think it had incredible fucking moments, and it's like one of those things where you have to love the whole thing or none of it. And I'm like, fuck you. I like 64% of that movie. I loved every bit. 64%. I loved every bit of The Force Awakens, and you could fight me if you didn't. I know Brennan did. I think we've talked about this before. I loved it. A lot of people saying things like it was a rehash of A New Hope. And I say, you can go fuck yourself. That's what I can say. And so I just loved it. I loved Force Awakens. Honestly, and of course, I mean, the best fucking Star Wars movie to come out of the new ones was Rogue One. Did you enjoy Rogue One?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Yeah, the only. Yeah, I know,
I'm
man.
sorry.
I know. You did like a 2 or 3 minute build up, and then I'm like, sorry,
no,
dude.
It's okay. Yeah. Rogue One is maybe the best Star Wars movie ever made.
You make me want to see it.
That's a little much to say. Obviously, Return of the Jedi. Not Return of the Jedi, sorry.
I need to get someone's Netflix account, and then I'll watch Rogue One. And
I think Rogue One's on Netflix. I hope it is. I haven't seen Deadpool 2 either. I'm slacking like a motherfucker right now.
Yeah, I meant making fun of the prison wallet thing when that came out and stuff, so that was pretty fun. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. I mean, I like that sight gag type of stuff. So when the first one came out, I was pretty happy, man. That film had a lot of laughs and stuff. So I really kind of enjoyed that type of action and stuff. I could totally see myself in the Deadpool outfit, reciting some of the lines and stuff, man.
Oh, okay. Mike Brennan says the Vader part of Rogue One was breathtaking. Me, my dad, and my little brother went and saw that movie when I was living in Virginia, and. My point, before we walked into that theater when we were waiting in line, I was like, all they've done is talk about how much of a bad motherfucker Darth Vader was, right? They just talk about exposition. They just keep talking about how he's the most evil ruler of all time, the most powerful Jedi, the most talented fighter, all this stuff. And they never once really showed how much of a gangster he was, right? Not really. Like, he was toying with Luke every time they fought because he knew deep down he was his son and stuff like that. And then of course the fight between him and Obi-Wan, they didn't illustrate how great of a fighter he was in that at all. But then in Rogue One, the end of the fucking movie, it was the first time they beautifully showed how much of a bad motherfucker Darth Vader was. Like, at the beginning, you could hear the ship kind of wobbling because of his force that's coming off, and then when he's throwing dudes into the ceiling, you can hear bones crunching and stuff like that, and armor bending because of how much power is coming out of him.
It's like you're describing.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, it's like Darth Vader turned into John Wick all of a sudden. Yeah, he's just throwing stormtroopers left and right.
It was fucking incredible. Like, every moment of that, and it was one of those moments where me and my brother and my dad, who were huge Star Wars fans, were just going, oh my god! Oh, we're pinned against the seat, blown away. It was amazing.
And then he shows up and he starts doing those Hugo Drax lines. It's find a way to find hard to him, that type of stuff, and like that.
Oh yeah. Which is And it was cool how much it ended like right, like as soon as A New Hope starts, Rogue One ended. Like it was just a beautiful way to fucking.
Yeah, you know what? A long time ago, I remember seeing that somebody did a film on how they got the secret stuff to go to the planet of the Ewoks to blow up the Death Star.
Yeah, that was that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so somebody actually, expanded on that, and that was one of the things, because Star Wars is just basically the movies, whereas Star Trek kind of had the movies and the show as well, and then all the different offshoots of it. So it would be nice to have kind of Star Wars kind of doing something like that, where they kind of
now that it's owned by Disney, I feel like they're going to do a whole lot more.
They're going to have like Lego movies and the whole 9 yards. And you know what, George Lucas, in my opinion, is probably one of the most successful people ever and stuff. You know that his daughter, Skywalker Ranch and stuff. When I saw my friend down in San Diego, he showed me like one of the houses that he used to live in over by La Jolla and all that.
That's
so
really
that was pretty
cool,
nice.
man.
Yeah, my friend says, George Lucas at one time lived here. I'm like, cool.
That's really cool.
He had good taste.
I was up in the hills doing a move once, and someone pointed out a house that Spielberg used to live in, and it is the biggest, most crazy ballin' ass house I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, because you have all these houses. Yeah, you have so much space to work with, and space is a premium, even in the 70s and 80s and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You could only do so much. I mean,
I think that's what's cool about being out here is just seeing like, it's also the disparity, or that's not the right word. Being able to see the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich all living kind of on top of each other, I think is fascinating about living out here.
Well, I mean, there's a vineyard that's up there between like Bel Air and Beverly Hills area over by the Coldwater Reservoir and stuff.
Oh, right.
That area, it's like 100 acres. It's like worth over $1 billion.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they have a vineyard up there. I forgot who the owners. I think they're Iranian or something. But they basically own that area, and then essentially they're looking for a buyer. But you've got to basically have a B, man. You got to be like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates.
Yeah, to buy some shit like that.
You got to have a B in your name.
There's no millionaires buying that shit. That's a billionaire thing. Okay, Mike Brennan says again, Disney will have Star Wars live action TV shows when they release their version of Disney's. Yeah. When they release their version of Disney Netflix, are they going to release a Disney Netflix thing? Is that going to happen?
Probably. I don't know. I'm not much in the
know
know
of streaming service game. Yeah, I mean, I imagine. I mean, Disney owns fucking everything. Marvel. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, there's pretty much 7 or 8 companies that pretty much run everything in
just in the
Disney.
World in general.
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like Westinghouse. There's Disney. There's GE.
Yep.
I mean, got obviously Apple and Walmart and stuff. They pretty much everybody kind of works together. McDonald's, Yum Brands.
Okay, so Mike says they are making it. Disney is going to make their own Netflix type thing. That's pretty fascinating, man. I'm actually because I want to get the Amazon Prime streaming service because I hear there's a lot of good things on there, but I've tried not to get yet another fucking streaming service because I've got Hulu and but then if they do that, I think I definitely would get the Disney one. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of good shit.
I grew up with Disney.
Good night, Fred Murphy. You also sexy bastard. Thank you for tuning in, my
Good night, Fred. All right.
All that Mountain Dew's coming up.
Hey, Morty, come on.
You do. I think if I swear to God, if I ever find out of any auditions where they're casting a Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, I'm gonna do everything in my power to get you to play Rick Sanchez.
Thank you.
I feel like you'd be spot on. You got the look. You just need to be more drunk more often.
Yeah, exactly, man. I was like 4 beers in last night, man. I was pretty much
full Rick, dude.
Hey, what's happening?
Yeah, and you can burp it.
I can burp on command. Yeah, I'm trying not to get this microphone
Don't
too
get it
dirty.
into the mic.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, we got to clean these eventually.
Yeah. I don't want anybody with cold sores and stuff. So.
Yeah, the key. Don't touch the mic. Don't actually touch the mic. That's the key. That's why I worry sometimes about the mic at Fourth Wall, the main mic, because I'm like, man, I know for a fact I've been holding it and gotten excited and touched it to my mouth, and I'm just like, God, what do I have now?
Yeah, I gotta have like a triple ointment nearby or whatever.
Not only are comics a bunch of goddamn degenerates, but we have all kinds of fly-by-night fucking weirdos that come through here.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the subculture. I really do. Last night I went to 3 places. I went to GT's thing over at Lotus Lounge because one of the bar regulars texted me, say, "Hey, come on down." So I went down there.
Yeah.
I saw Drew Landry and a couple of other people that I recognized there. Walked across the street. Quincy Johnson and Anya Malik were doing
this
stuff.
man knows. Like I'm lucky that I get to work here, and I love this fucking place, and I wouldn't fucking throw this job away. But I also don't get to go to as many places and as many seats, so it's like I rarely get to meet these other showrunners that are out there and stuff like that, which sucks. But at the same time, it's I get all.
Well, these are people that have been humping it for quite a while. I mean, I remember seeing GT over at Silver Lake Lounge
like I have
2
no
years
idea
ago
who
when
GT
I started.
is. I have absolutely no idea who that is.
I guess he was a child actor at one time, and he says, I did a part in some kids show like Saved by the Bell or something like that. And I was like, cool. All right.
That's neat.
So he was running that show, and then there was Anya, and then I went over and saw Mark Seltzer over at Bordner's. And
cool.
Yeah, a couple of comics that I saw over at UBG. UBG, I did 22 shows in a row there now. And the first thing that I did, as soon as I grabbed the mic, I broke the mic head. So for 30 seconds, I had this. Chris Putra had to kind of put the mic together for me, and then I did my set.
How'd it go after you?
You know what? I basically, something can happen where there was a show that I did. My boss had a show at his house. He did a house party. Him and his wife do this once a year party. And they'll have like a band. They had a belly dancer. They had a woman doing like tattoos and stuff. And he said, "Hey, do you want to do a couple jokes?" "Yeah, sure." So what happened was that the band, it was kind of rockabilly. They did some mostly like rhythm and blues type of stuff, Stevie Ray Vaughan. So they took a break, and then I went up there. And the first thing that happened was as soon as I got up and I started talking on the mic, like that major feedback, like fucking Jimi Hendrix type, really kind of, annoying the audience. And then finally he said it right, and then I was able to do like maybe 10, 15 minutes. And I just, the thing is that because kids were there, I didn't want to get into it. So I was banging this chick and stuff like that. You don't, you don't want to go that route, especially when you're working with your boss.
Right.
Now, my relationship with my boss is one where, hey, I do the work and stuff, and I'm going to show up a certain way, and I'm a asset, not a liability. So I'm pretty cool. He's a pretty decent guy. So I meant the last thing I want to do is basically piss all over his party or whatever. So I just mainly just talked about music, talked about Stevie Ray Vaughan, Aretha Franklin passing away and stuff. So I took a situation, and then I just, based on what happened with the microphone kind of going off, it was like, look, I might as well just talk about different music and stuff. So I shot the shit with people for like 10 minutes, and then Rafi basically said, "Hey, I'm going to bring up the belly dancer." "Okay, come on. Hey, let's give it up for the host of hosts, Rafi." And everybody's clapping, going back up and stuff.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, I do stuff like that.
You're very prolific. You get out there and you go lots of fucking places.
Yeah, the fourth wall was part of that, because I was able to kind of work things out here, and I have my meltdowns here, and there everything happens, and then that way, it's kind of like you'd rather bleed here than out on the stage when there's actually a couple people and stuff.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, and I mean, that's the whole point of this place, really. And for a lot of people that don't know, I mean, this is a great place too. You come up here and you can be as vulnerable as you want. You can try out stuff, and like it's a safe space. It really is a safe space for comics, because it's like tonight. Like usually the 10 o'clock is a lot more fucked up, but like we had a dude come through from Miami, and he brought a whole bunch of friends, like they're going on some weird trip in Japan and stuff. And it became more of a show because you just kind of want to, you want to impress the people in the audience, and you want, like, because there's actually a fucking crowd. It's not just a bunch of comics, and not just a workshop. So it really did become more of a show than when really usually at Fourth Wall it's just 9 fucking comics plus me or Joe or whoever, and then you're just kind of railing through material and like kind of gauging what
my material is ever changing. I didn't,
you don't do you really write stuff, or do you?
No, I do write stuff. Like one of the things that I did was leading up to the 22nd show that I did over at UBG. I kind of put stuff together because I wanted to kind of talk about the relationships that I had or women that I'd hooked up with and stuff. So I kind of talked about that, and talked about being first time being drunk, talked about growing up in El Paso, but I was mainly talking about the girls that I hooked up with, or getting drunk, and my uncle.
Right.
I had an uncle that would get me drunk and get me stoned, and I got to see naked chicks with him and stuff. When I finished up high school, he snuck me into JB's there in El Paso.
JB's?
So, yeah, which is a titty bar there off of Airway. I think they still have it there, but yeah, we went in there. I had a picture or two, and then finally the bouncer realized that, you know, he let me slip through, and then he threw me out. But by that point, I was probably like 2 pictures, and it was like, all right, man, hey, all right, man.
They chucked you out.
Catch me later, you know. So that was something that I should talk about more about, like some of my more of the experiences there in El Paso and stuff, because
it's pretty interesting, man. And you've had a really interesting childhood.
Yeah, because
you told me a lot about like going across the border and sneaking shit in.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, prior to the JB's thing, because that was when I was 18. When I was like 17, man, I was going to Austin. Austin, I liked. I mean, I went to Hanks and I went to Austin. Hanks, because my mom lived there and stuff like that, I pretty much was going there. I always lamented. I always wanted to go to Eastwood High School because that was where my uncle went, and I went to Eastwood Heights, Eastwood Knowles. So I was trying to get the trifecta, but the Triple Crown. But at that point, you know, wherever you lived, that's where you went to school, and that was it. Even though that if I guess if I would have fought it with the school district, hey, I want to go to Eastwood. Where I lived and where Eastwood was, it probably was actually closer than Hanks. It was it was very close in terms of like the distance. You know, I think Eastwood probably beat it by like a block or two. But because it was on that side of Yarborough where I lived, I had to go to Hanks. So, so I did that. Yeah, I was there off and on, you know, for my years. And then when my mom was kicking me out, I was going to different places. And one of the places.
What was your mom kicking you out? Like, yeah, I didn't get too fucking personal, but I mean.
No, well, the thing was that one of the times I was smoking pot. Me and a friend went to a party. Yeah. And then he crashed at my place. My mom came into town, or she came back from doing something. And me and my friend were sparking up in the back, and at that point, my mom was said in front of my friend, "You're out of here, man."
Oh, damn.
So I had to figure out in the next couple of hours what I was going to do. So I called up another friend in Chaparral, and then I loaded up my stuff, and then
just got out of there.
Yeah, I lived up in Chaparral till they got sick of my shit, man. You know, and that was the thing. For the longest time, I was codependent. I was. You know, where you become friends with somebody, but you use them ultimately, and then they fucking hate you, and then, you know, it becomes,
which sucks.
Yeah. So it took me a couple of times, and when you're younger, you don't appreciate things that you do when you get older.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, especially particular friendships or just what people are doing for you.
Yeah, and when I was like living in Austin, or when I was going to Austin High School, the thing that I liked about Austin versus some of the other schools in El Paso was that it was more diverse. Because you had the kids from Fort Bliss.
Oh yeah, Austin's actually a pretty liberal city and stuff.
No, not the Austin city, the high school in El Paso.
Oh, okay, sorry.
In fact, my grandfather actually graduated from that same high school.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, it was like the first couple of years that it was open. Yeah, I think he graduated like 38 or something.
Oh damn.
But so I was going to school there. We had kids from Fort Bliss, so there was a pretty even mixture of white, black, and Mexican people that went to Austin. So it was like nobody fought with each other. You know, there was no gang problems. And stuff, especially in El Paso, which is 85-90% Hispanic, and then the rest is between white, black, and Asian pretty much. So it gave me a little bit more, you know. I kind of enjoyed being there most because when I was growing up, I went to a lot of schools like Loma Terrace, Hillcrest, that were primarily Hispanic and stuff, and then I'd be made fun of in a different language and stuff. So
which fucking sucks. Did you ever learn how to speak Spanish?
Well, I get basic phrases out and stuff, but I mean, in terms of it being fluid, no. I'd really have to do like a Berlitz crash course, but some of the jobs that I worked at, or one in particular, I would go over to Mexico, and they expected me to know at least a certain amount of Spanish, which I did, and that helped a little bit. Yeah, it may not have been enough, but you know, and then I moved on. I did another programming job somewhere else. So that was kind of but the cool thing with Austin was at that time I was still in high school. Yeah. I'd go over to Mexico, and I'd go to Del Rio, and we'd pick up a bottle of tequila or brandy or something, and go across the customs and stuff. So I mean, that was kind of like I wasn't like trying to do major cocaine and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be like a drug mule and stuff.
Right.
But I realized that I had also friends that had family members that were part of like the Border Patrol or customs and stuff.
No
so
shit.
I realized that you know that eventually it's going to catch up with you.
Right. Eventually,
one of my mom's friends that was teaching with her over at Socorro at one time was a customs agent. So I remember she had a magnet, you know, back in the days when you'd have the refrigerator magnets and stuff. She must have had like 100 of them, but she had one in particular that said, "There's two things that kill: traffic and drugs and traffic." So that always stuck with me and stuff. Yeah, Roberta was a pretty cool lady. So she's Roberta Carrillo. Carrillo Montes. Yeah.
So you had a pretty fucking interesting childhood.
I mean, obviously growing in El Paso, it was kind of unique. I kind of got picked on a little bit, and then as I got, because I got picked on, that made me a little bit tougher and made me learn to acclimate to different environments, and then mixed in with my own dysfunctional family. It just, everything just kind of, I realized that just being around certain people just make you toxic. You don't want to be around them.
It's true, man. You get in those toxic relationships, those toxic people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how come. Like I said, when the first podcast, I never really got into the relationship thing because I just always assumed that, based on my experience with other friends that would be married and then they get divorced and stuff, I just kind of realized, oh man, this is a dead end.
Definitely getting married. I mean, I'm not necessarily anti-relationship, even all the fucking horrible ones that I've had. But at the same time, I'm super anti-marriage. Like I don't think I could ever.
I think hitched. I mean, I guess they came out with some survey today that were saying people that were like 45 and above, that like 56% of people were like lonely and stuff. I mean, loneliness is really kind of a state of mind. As long as you have like a circle of about like 7-8 friends that you can kind of contact and stuff. Because I guess earlier this week there was a comic that was here by the name of Matty K wound up, I guess committing suicide. So there was like
Matty
a big,
K?
I mean, you know what? I saw the guy probably like a couple of weeks earlier. I either want to say over at Petey's place or over at Other Door and stuff. And
no shit. What do you look like? I don't think I know who that is. I'm sorry that happened.
He's kind of a grizzly bear kind of guy. He kind of had a beard, kind of short hair. I guess he had a wife that had pink hair. I'm not as familiar with her. I mean, I've only met the guy in passing. Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying that in terms of the community of comics and stuff, that does happen.
It's a fucking depressed business, sadly enough. Like a lot of in order to be.
That's it. Well, that's how come it's a state of mind. That's how come I don't mind going to places and not getting paid and stuff. I'm totally cool with that because if anything, it just makes me stronger. And if I didn't have a good night, okay, well, no harm, no foul. Yeah. Now when you're going out to Elko, Nevada, and you're making like $70-$80 or whatever, and you're begging that nobody beats you up on the way out and stuff, based on your jokes against Mormons and stuff. You're just it's not going to go over. Yeah, especially in Elko, Nevada and stuff.
And it's nice, and a lot of people, like I hope, we have a really great community here at Fourth Wall. Fred Murphy, one of the guys that was commenting, he comes with Fourth Wall and stuff like that. And I really like what we got going on here. I'm glad you're a part of it, my friend. We're gonna wrap this motherfucker up a little bit early. We're pretty much there, but I do have to work in the morning.
Hey, you know what? Okay, I know. I wanted to save the best for last. I was part of a movie. Back in April called Clown Motel. I did some
Clown
shooting.
Motel. Promote what is it coming out?
Yeah, we're going to have the world premiere of it, or the LA premiere of it, downtown, 251 South Main. If you guys would like to come down.
251 South Main.
I think tickets start at like $20-ish. They're going to have like a red carpet. Tony Moran, who played the original guy in Halloween, he was the guy with the mask on and stuff. Ari Shaffir is also in the movie, who was the original Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. He's not going to be at the LA premiere, but he'll probably be at the one that's over there in New York, because he's
cool.
Joe Kelly, who produced it.
When is that? When's that happening?
That's happening this Saturday.
Saturday, you guys. Yeah. So tomorrow?
No. Tomorrow's Friday.
Oh, okay.
Friday.
So 2 days from now.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
sorry.
Saturday,
I never know what day it is.
It's probably going to be around like I think the red carpet starts at 4, and then they're going to kick off the movie from from 5 to 6:30 ish.
Cool. And then if you're around downtown Los Angeles, definitely check that out. Chris Fumagalli in the Clown Motel movie.
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
I'm glad that I thought of it here.
Yeah, good thing, dude. Yeah, I was because you're on so often. Sometimes I forget to ask you to promote what you got going on, but I'm glad you remembered, and I hope the people come out and they
please come out if you can.
And then this again has been the Fourth Wall After Hours podcast. You guys, always a fantastic and interesting conversation with the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Fumagalli. Everybody, I've been Travis Clyburn as always. Have a good night.